Now, Joe, I want to ask you a question that you touch upon all the time, and you jump right to evil and wars and this kind of stuff. But on a little more lower level, what is really the motive here? I mean, if you have nuclear bombs, you can bomb them back into the Stone Age, and you have all these missiles, why show off to the world that we can land a man on the moon?
I think to win the Cold War, or to try to give some sort of perceived victory in the Cold War, perceived victory of technological superiority over the Soviet Union. And I don't know whether or not it happened. I still am not convinced one way or another. But you are certainly not convincing me that we went, not by any stretch of the imagination, especially since the last time anybody even did a flyby of the moon was 1972. That's
correct.
Silly.
That was Apollo 17.
That's silly.
Now, Phil, how much would it cost? I mean, just ballpark. How much would it cost now in 2007 to send Joe to the moon? If we got together with the Amazon guy and all that?
Well, lacking Jackie Gleason to actually hit him to the moon. I don't know. I mean, the people who are putting together these rockets, like Jeff Bezos with Amazon and Berenson and Spaceship One, these are all rockets that are being designed to go into low Earth orbit, and it takes a huge amount more to get to the moon. You basically have to double the energy you give to the rocket to get it from low Earth orbit to the moon, and that means a vast amount more fuel. And that's why it took a rocket like the Saturn V, which was this enormous beast, to get up there. And so, you know, to do this, we're basically starting from scratch. We could rebuild the Saturn V. We could do all that. But the technology is a lot better now, so it's better just to start from scratch.
But wait a minute. Why would you start from scratch if you already did it successfully 6 times out of 7 attempts? Apollo 13 being the only one that didn't land on the moon. Well, if that's 1969 technology, I mean, wouldn't just small improvements?
Well, no, I mean, you've got the knowledge of what happened then, but the technology itself has gotten a lot better.
The Apollo landings are the only technological achievement in human history that is not easier, cheaper, and faster to duplicate than it was in 1969.
Well, NASA is a government agency.
That's not good enough. That's craziness. They take the space shuttle up all the time. Not only that, the space shuttle is more expensive, and it's not as powerful as a Saturn V rocket.
You got to realize that NASA has to bend to government will. The space shuttle was never meant to be initially the way it is now. What is it? Is a platypus is a mouse designed by the government. You know, the space station was originally supposed to be lean and mean, and it's going to do all these things. But then every congressman wanted his fingers in it. You know, we're going to build this here in my district, and then it got huge, and it cost hundreds of billions. And it's just,
but we're not talking about the space station. We're talking about the space shuttle.
And the shuttle's the same way. Now, what happened, you know...
But the shuttle goes up all the time.
Yeah?
They wouldn't do one flyby of the moon? They couldn't figure out a way... Why would they go backwards?
It's not because it's not designed to go to the moon.
But no human being ever, since the Apollo astronauts, has gone more than 400 miles up.
That's about right, yeah.
That's ridiculous. 260,000 miles there and back, and the best they can do since 1972 is 400 miles?
Yeah. And now, while you're saying it's ridiculous because you can't believe it, I think it's ridiculous because I can believe it very well.
But it's not like they're not spending money. And they keep talking about going back, but they talk about going back in 2020. Why go back in 2020 when you could just... That's the other problem. They don't have the telemetry data from the Apollo 11. Isn't that like the most important data? Isn't that like the most important thing? A huge technological achievement. They landed a man on the moon, brought him back, and they're missing the telemetry data? 14,000 something reels?
They're missing a lot of that stuff was not
because you can't fake it. You can't fake the telemetry data.
One of the things that's most irritating about this conspiracy theory for someone like me is that a lot of this stuff is really subtle and complicated. And
14,000 reels of telemetry data for the most technological achievement in human history that's not stored in the Smithsonian Institute. It's not stored in NASA Vault. It's not labeled. It's not under lock and key. It's not in a gold vault. There's nothing weird about that.
I can't say anything about 14,000 reels. I don't know the number, and so
yeah, it's like 13,000 or 14,000. I forget. Either way, it's more than 100, which is crazy. You've lost more. If you lost more than 100 of the telemetry data, that's insane.
A lot of the stuff was owned by contractors. It was shelved. They weren't paid to store it, and it went away.
It's NASA. NASA lost it. This is the hard footage.
NASA is not just NASA. NASA is civil servants. NASA is 10 different contractors. There was Northrop Grumman. There was North American.
Nice. Yeah,
there
Grumman lost all their stuff. So did Boeing. They lost all their information, too, on the moon buggy, on the lunar module. They lost all that stuff.
This is
How convenient.
It's another argument brought up by conspiracy theorists. Not to me. Each one of these missions, each one of these lunar landers was different. It's not like they designed a car and then just cranked them out. They had an overall design, and then each one was different. Each one they had to note all of these changes and everything, and it was all done on paper.
I got to tell you, Phil, I'm not done with you, bitch. This is again, we haven't even got into solar flares. The apex of a 20-year solar cycle happened while the Apollo landings were going on. Those people would have fried up there, baby.
This is Rocky. This is Rocky. Joe did not have a chance. Joe is holding his own. Yes, there has to be another installment. Joe Rogan, Phil Plait, CBS Radio. This is Penn Jillette.
If I worked for NASA, I'd fire you, bro.
Good thing I don't work for NASA.